What's up everyone, and thank you for stopping by the channel. Today's project is this free but very used Honda lawnmower that I picked off the curb, and the problem is I don't know anything about it. Let's take a good look at it, find out what's wrong with it, and hopefully we can fix it. In this video, we try and repair this mower. However, it may not be the exact repair you need to make to yours. We'll explore other options later in the video. I'm not sure how you feel about Honda mowers, but if you've watched any of my videos before, you'll know that I have high praise for their build quality and the way they cut, especially if they have the dual blade setup. I do know that there are those people out there who have differing opinions about them, and I can respect them for it, but as for me, I personally use one and have enjoyed using it for the last several years. So when I saw this one posted on Craigslist for free, I immediately jumped in my car and drove across town to get it. Now the listing stated that it ran, but it was very hard to start. Also, the rear wheels have worn to the point that they don't have tires anymore, which is quite rare. This is probably the second time I've seen this happen. Even the front tires were bald, which can only mean that this mower was used a lot in the last 10 years, and it was finally time to give it away and get a new mower. Now, if we check the oil, we can see that it's at the right level and very clean, which is something I'm not used to seeing. Normally, the oil is very dirty and sometimes below normal level, so it's very obvious someone took the time to do routine maintenance on this mower, and it's lasted them quite a long time. Also, there's no gas in the tank, which means that this mower probably hasn't been started this year yet. Next, I'll look at the air filter and see what kind of condition it's in. As you can see, the filter is in great shape, so it's either been cleaned on a regular basis or replaced whenever it got dirty. I hate to say it, but this person takes better care of their equipment than I do. Next, I'll tip the mower on its side and check how the blades look. I'll be turning the blade by hand, and no, I didn't disconnect the spark plug. That's because this mower has a clutch on the blades, so when you turn the blades, it's not turning the engine, so I don't have to worry about an accidental startup. So it looks like the previous owner likes to run over sticks and twigs, as the edge of the blade has some nicks on it, but I don't think I need to replace them just yet. So the bigger question for me is what to do with the wheels and tires. By the looks of it, it was used without tires on the rear for some time, so we probably need to replace them. While I'm at it, we might as well replace the fronts too, but only if we get this mower working. When I read that it was hard to start, I could only assume that the choke system wasn't working, but I also want to do a compression test to see if the engine is worn out. You can buy these testers online for less than $20. To use it, simply remove the spark plug and install it into the engine and pull the rope several times. But as you can see, the recoil system isn't working like it's supposed to. That means we need to remove the recoil and see what the problem might be. You could just buy another recoil, as they aren't very expensive, but I'd like to see if we can save this one first. Hopefully we can get away with just lubricating the spring, and if not, we might have to remove the spring and see if there's a problem with it. After spraying the studs with some lubricant, removing the nuts and the recoil, I decided to instead remove the spring and do a proper inspection and cleaning. Just be very careful when taking the screw off the guide plate. It's left-hand thread, which means that when you unscrew it, you have to turn it clockwise to remove it and not counterclockwise like normal. Now, after taking the pulley out of the cover, we can now see the spring, and it's pretty obvious what the problem is. The spring isn't broken, it's just covered in a lot of rust. The next thing we need to do is very carefully remove the spring from the pulley. I would suggest wearing some safety glasses when doing this part. Next, use some brake cleaner to remove all the rust you can. You can use something a little bit more abrasive if you feel like it to help remove the rust. I'd probably suggest using steel wool or probably 600 or 800 grit sandpaper. So the spring is a lot cleaner than before, but as you can see, it doesn't look new, which is just fine. Next, I'll clean off the other areas that had rust on them as well, so it doesn't make its way back onto the spring. Once that's done, I'll apply some lubricant on the spring and the other areas that I cleaned, and then rewind the spring. Now, you don't have to lubricate the spring now. I just want to make sure that the lube will get all over the spring. Rewinding the spring isn't hard, but it can be extremely tough if you've never done it before. Just go slow and have a lot of patience. Now, after the spring is rewound, try to install it onto the pulley. The only problem is it's not small enough yet to fit, so we need to wind it a bit tighter so it will fit. This is the part where your hands will begin to hurt. Now, after you finally get the spring back in, I would apply a little bit more lubricant to the spring one more time. After that's done, we can now install the pulley back onto the cover, add some more lubricant, and then replace the spring, the guide plate, and the screw. Once that's done, we can then rewind the spring. I normally put a few turns on it, then check to see if it's enough to pull most of the rope in. And if that's not enough, I'll add a single turn at a time till it's enough. Try to resist the urge to put too many turns on the spring, otherwise when you pull on the rope, the spring could bind up on you. So the recoil is working fine and the pawls are extending like they should. However, there's still too much rope outside of the recoil, so I'll add one more turn on the spring. After that, I'll check one more time that there's still not too much rope hanging from the recoil assembly. Then I'll reinstall it back onto the engine. So it looks like the recoil assembly is turning the engine and retracting the rope, and that means we can finally remove the spark plug and install the compression tester. Now, since this engine has a compression release to make pulling the rope a lot easier, we won't get an accurate reading, but I want to see a number over 100 psi. I do not want to see a number less than 75, as it could mean that the engine is worn out, and that's why we're having a hard time starting. Now, the spark plug is almost brand new, so I'm sure the previous owner was also trying to get it to start up a lot easier as well. So the reading is about 71 psi, which is not great news for this mower. That would explain why this engine is so difficult to start. As a test, I'll spray some starting fluid into the carburetor's throat and try starting it, and we'll see exactly how tough it is to start. So it took several pulls just to get a very short run, which isn't very promising. Now remember, I just want it to run for a second, but it shouldn't take several pulls to do that. I'm not trying to get it to run on its own. Now I want to try that test one more time to see if we can repeat what just happened. This time I'll spray more starter fluid into the carburetor. Now this time it took even more pulls to get it to start at 10 versus 7 from the previous attempt. Now when we spray starting fluid into the carburetor's throat, we're taking the carburetor out of the equation as far as a starting problem. So even if the carburetor was bad, it shouldn't take this many pulls to start. I think this engine might need a new set of rings. The most I want to do is possibly look into checking the valve lash, because more than likely the person who previously owned this mower never did it. I also want to try and save every mower I can find on the curb, but I think I might be wasting my time on this one. So my question is, what do we do with this project? Do we retire this mower and use it for parts, or do we put more time and money into it to get a few more years out of it? A set of rear tires alone will be almost $30, so hopefully it won't need more parts because the wheels are already cutting into the profits. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions, and I hope to see you in the next video.